to the Springfield Township Board of Trustees regular meeting. It's Tuesday, August 8, 2017, at approximately 5:30 p.m. Mr. Burning, could we please have the roll call?
Yes, Ms. McFarland.
Present.
Mr. Honolulu.
Present.
Mr. Burning.
Present.
All the trustees are present.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have minutes for approval from July 11th, 2017 regular meeting, July 25th, 2017 regular work session, and from the August 2nd, 2017 special meeting for a bid opening for approval?
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr.
Minutes
Burning?
approved.
Mr. Burning, may we have the financial report, please?
Yes. Let me get this, finish writing this in here. For the month ending July 31st, 2017, the township expenditures were $1,747,543.63, and the receipts were $1,295,534.40. The ending cash balance of $18,631,023.86 includes obligations to expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investment. What I do request is a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated current revenue and reports for the period ending July 31st, 2017.
So move.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
And I just want to let everyone know financial reports are available for viewing at the administrative offices weekdays during regular business hours or on our website anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Mr. Hennenkamp, would you please give us a report on departmental action and discussion items?
Yes, Mr. Burning. A couple of action items. The first is, as the board's aware, at our work session back in July, we discussed a no parking request that we received on Stayburn Avenue. Stayburn runs off of Caldwell Drive, which is right there at kind of the intersection of Vine Street, down in the valley area. And as our customary practice when we receive those, and the board did authorize us to send out letters to those residents and businesses in the affected area, just to let them know that the board was going to consider taking action potentially on this item tonight. So while this isn't technically a public hearing portion, I would say at this point this might be a good opportunity to see if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak pro or con on the issue. And as I understand it, Mr. Torback is here, I think, on the pro side of things. So I don't know if we have anyone else here on the issue. But
Yeah,
Let's see the
I
next
think
one.
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Why don't we
now's
have
a good
Mr.
time.
Torbeck come up and address the board.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My business is at the corner of Caldwell Drive and Vine Street, really more on Caldwell than Vine, and I'm immediately across from Stayburn. There's been a lot of parking issues with that stretch of Stayburn and with my property too. There's a new business that opened up 2 doors from me, and they have quite a crowd. And I talked to a gentleman and I said, you know, I can park on my lot, also didn't block my doorways and my gate. Still some people in general feel they have the right to park anywhere they want. And I continue to remind them that they park in front of one of my doors. I have signs on the building that say I can tow them away. And it'd be $150 to get your car back, and then they threaten me with, you don't want to tow my car. Okay, this is my property, and you're telling me what to do with it. So a question I have, the right-of-way is from the middle of the street, and there's parking on the side of my building, and some people have said, well, you don't own that, we maintain it, it's inside of the white line, but I wanted to make sure that I have a right to limit or restrict parking on that property, because people do for the local establishment, and they do leave me some debris, some garbage periodically, because they don't live there. They don't own it. And I do, I think, and I'm responsible for it. And I tell them I police that area daily. We've been there 25 years, and from the day we moved there, we started taking care of that island in the street. And I pick up garbage, beer cans, ashtrays, food containers, and the like. And this other establishment seems to think that's not his problem. But it wasn't there before they were there. So I just contend that your clientele is leaving this for me. He contends that he picks it up, but I still find it. I said, well, you're not picking it all up. I'm finding the rest of it. So we're not horribly opposed to each other, but I'm concerned now that they restrict the parking, which I understand that because it's along railroad tracks. There's a house at the end of the street, and I've seen them park there. Friday and Saturday night, it's like a traffic jam at that intersection. I mean, really, truthfully, probably the police department needs to maybe take a little look at that Friday and Saturday night. And part of the issue is they congregate outside during and after hours, and that's when I think they have their own little parties, and then they leave me the stuff that they had in their car. And the parking is horrible. There's a gentleman and family lives at the corner of the street. He's told me many times he can't get into the street, he can't get out of the street. So I can see restricting it. But I'm concerned now that I've watched them. They can park 12 or 14 cars in that area. They park in the front by the railroad track, like closer to Vine Street, and all the way down that strip. And I'm just thinking 12 or 14 more cars. And then they park all the way up Caldwell, all the way up to Dewey, and probably past there. And some of the neighbors, which I thought would be here tonight, who we talked about this with, people that live behind me on Caldwell, they've had them parking in there, right in front of their house, and leaving them debris too. And so I wish them well, I really do. I mean, any business starting out, you know, you've got to have clientele, and you've got to make a living, and I think that they're doing that. And I just don't want it to be a burden on us because they moved into the neighborhood. And restricting the parking, I think, is a smart thing to do, but I'm sure they're not happy about it at this point, and they're looking for the ways to park somewhere. A question about the parking that I have, somebody told me, they said, well, then just charge for parking. and believe me, the thought has crossed my mind. And then I'm going to need to be there. Somebody's going to need to be there on Friday and Saturday night, policing that for me too, or to chain it off. Well, then I got to put posts in the ground and chains and do that on a daily basis to limit that. So I'm trying to be, you know, helpful to them and helpful to me at the same time. So, and there is a building on the corner of Stayburn and Caldwell that's vacant, empty, been ticketed, notified, posted. They've come down and cleaned up the weeds and the stuff in the back. And I told the people that own this business, I said, you need to buy that. He says, what am I going to do with that? I said, you're going to tear it down and make it parking. And that way you have parking for probably 20 cars. You know, of course. And I also mentioned to him, I suggested that he put garbage cans out there. He said, well, there's one right at the door, right at the steps going into the place. I said, well, but they walk all the way up here and dump. I watched them. I sat there in the car and watched the guy roll his window down and pitch his food out the window in my lot. I was happy with that. And I said, you need 4 garbage cans. Put them at the telephone pole here, 4 of them. Put signs on them. Bungee cord to the pole. He said, what do we do when we're done? I said, take them home. I mean, take them to your place and dump them, and then bring them out the next night. So I have suggestions for him, and I think that they, you know, we kind of talked and we worked together a little bit too, but he has had some people there. So I'm in favor of this happening. I just hope it doesn't get worse, because even the neighbors complain that loud music late at night, parking, relieving themselves in their driveways, just a whole gamut of late night bar traffic. So I don't know if there's anything we can do with that. I maybe talk to the police chief, or we can get together and do that, look at it.
Absolutely. Actually, we did meet with the owners last week, Mr.
Good.
Gould and I, and we discussed the majority of these problems. Now, I didn't know that the litter and things were a problem. That didn't come up, but we had discussions on the parking and the problems that it's creating. There's one remedy to it here that we're doing tonight. So we'll talk and
Okay.
get the
Yeah,
rest
we
of it
can do
ironed
that.
out.
And like I said, I'm not trying to run my business. I'm all for new business, and hallelujah. And he mentioned to me, he says, well, what about, there was a bar there before. I said, they had no clientele compared to what you have. You know, we might get 1 or 2 cars parked, you know, on Friday or Saturday night. He's got 30. I mean, it then some. You know, they park in Alfred Motors, they park on Laurel on the side street, and those people have mentioned their issues with it, with the debris and garbage and stuff too. And that's the biggest hassle, I think, is the garbage. So they need to be able to keep an eye on that, even though he says, well, we don't sell that. That's fine. You're the clientele, bring it with them. And they decide they're not taking it home with them, they're going to leave it here for me. And yeah, I don't have to pick it up, but I've been doing it for 25 years, so I'm not going to stop now. I want it to be clean every, you know, when it's clean, the cleaner it is, the less garbage we can.
Yep, that's
And
right.
so that's one reason we're always taking care of it. And I talked to Mike, and Mike came down and he distributed those, and I talked to the neighbors, and they were supposed to be here tonight, and they're not. So they've got my back, just long distance. So I'll let them know what happened at the meeting. But again, I appreciate you looking into it, and Mike and the police chief, and, you know, I certainly want them to succeed. I just want them to be neighbor, respect our neighbor. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's really all I have on that issue for this. We do have a resolution later in the packet. It's Resolution 76, 2017. Should the board decide to move forward on declaring the area in question no parking, then it would be covered by that resolution. The next item that I have, this is also an item we discussed at our work session, and this was upcoming SCIP applications. As we discussed during the work session, there's a number of projects that we have looked at. At that time, I think we had kind of had consensus about submitting 4 SCIP applications. Just to remind the board, we do know that there's only $3.5 million in SCIP funding available for this round this year, so this is going to be a highly competitive process. But we still do feel like we've got, some good candidates that would have a good opportunity to get funded, at least one of them, maybe 2. But we're going to go ahead and recommend to the board that we submit 5 projects this year. We do rank those, and our recommendation, Mike and Chris and I, recommendation would that the Brentwood Village project be our first priority. That would include Cavalier and Christopol. The second would be the Glen Forest neighborhood, which would include Lux and Beach Ridge. The third would be Brentwood Heights, which would be 3 streets, Pine Hollow, Foxcroft, Fernwell. The fourth would be the Ridgevale subdivision, Ridgevale, Lockbourne, Wellingwood, and Cramwood. And then the fifth would be the Burlington Meadows subdivision, and that would include Maria, both sides of Maria, off of Springdale, and also Briar Rose. And we do note that that project has maybe some down the road potential to be a joint project with the county. We believe the county is beginning to take a look at Springdale Road, so that might, if it doesn't get funded this year, it could be a future SCIP application with the county. So those would be the recommendations. I guess seeking a motion from the board to concur or reorder those in whatever way. We just need to direction for Mike to go ahead and move forward on those applications.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'm very comfortable. I'll second the motion with those projects being listed in the order that you shared.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gwen?
Aye.
And
Motion carries.
I would like to thank I'd like to thank staff. I'd like to thank Mike Gould for all his work on this, and Mike, you as well. The SKIP applications is a very important part to our ongoing plan to revitalize the roads in our township. We have limited tax dollars to do that. We've been very successful in getting state grants to leverage our money, stretch it farther, and it's critical, especially for some of these big ticket roads where we have major repairs that need to be made. So thanks for all your hard work. I know there's a lot that goes into putting one of these together, and if we don't get them all this year, well, we'll have a lot of that work done for future years. So.
Good, appreciate those comments, and I would also, thank Mike. One of the things that he did specifically in this is also, given the amount of funding available, sort of, I want to say altered the ones, but we specifically looked for projects that we thought would have a good opportunity to get funded in a year where there's only $3.5 million total for the county, because relatively speaking, even though these are still expensive projects, they're a little less expensive and probably have a better chance of kind of falling in between some of the residuals. In other words, if there's a couple of big projects that get funded in, countywide, there might just be a certain amount of money where the next highly rated projects are all too expensive to be able to fund, and so, we may move up the rung. So I think it was very creative of Mike to look at some good candidates, given the sort of the landscape that we're facing in this particular year. We will ultimately need resolutions for each of these once the applications are actually ready. I think we can submit them at this point, but prior to November.
Yes, November 9th is the deadline.
The deadline, so you'll see these again in the form of a resolution, but this allows him to move forward at least in getting the applications ready for submittal. The next item I have is to seek the board's authorization to enter into two agreements. They are really related to the same issue. It's a little unusual. St. Xavier High School has requested the authorization to install a flashing pedestrian signal on North Bend Road, sort of at their at the main driveway that comes in, and they have obviously a lot of pedestrian students crossing from the parking lot that's on the south side of North Bend Road there. With that being a county road, they initially went to Hamilton County with their request. It is the county's practice, the county engineer's practice, that they generally will not do an agreement with a private landowner for something like this. So what the county does is the county asks that the township do the agreement. So there's sort of a two-part deal where there's an joint agreement between Hamilton County and the Board of Trustees, where they're basically saying, we'll allow the township to install that signal at their cost, and the township has to assume all of the maintenance responsibility. And then the township will then have an agreement with St. Xavier High School, whereas St. Xavier will work with the township to install the flashing pedestrian signal. They will pay for the installation and the maintenance. That was their intention all along, so St. X was never looking for the public monies to be used on this project. They just want to get it done. They're hoping to get it done fairly quickly before school starts next week. I don't know if they'll meet that, but hopefully they're quickly thereafter. So that's the reason. So really I need a motion first to allow me to enter into the agreement between the township and the Hamilton County on, as I mentioned, for the installation of that flashing driveway, and then also for me to enter into the agreement between the township and St. X High School, which essentially is the agreement that says X is responsible for all the costs of the installation and maintenance.
Do we have a motion for the Hamilton County agreement?
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor? Motion carries.
And do we have a motion for the agreement with St. Xavier High School?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
You know, from a safety perspective, when school is, when there are games or when there's school occurring, that's a very dangerous area, and there are a lot of kids running back and forth and trying to beat the traffic.
It'll benefit us as well.
Our police officers are there on private duty every day anyway.
Right.
Correct, to let the buses out, so,
Yeah.
it's additional safety for, an officer standing there, stopping traffic to get the buses out as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
it can be it will be a win-win situation for everyone.
And then the last action item is just to seek the board's authorization to add La Petite Pierre as a vendor to our approved caterer list for the Grove. They're located at 7800 Camargo Road in Cincinnati.
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Under discussion, just a quick reminder or notification that as we're asked, I think, every year for at least the last 5 or so years, the Healthcare Connection has always requested that the board announce that the time of the year that is actually National Health Center Week, and that will be from August the 13th through the 19th of this year. And then also in the letter was an invitation to join the celebration of National Health Center Week. There are a variety of community open houses that are taking place at health centers around our area. There's actually not one in Springfield Township, but there is one in Lincoln Heights. And that open house is on Saturday, August the 12th, Mount Healthy Family Practice on Tuesday the 15th of August, and then the Forest Park Health Center on Thursday the 17th. So I will circulate that to the board so that you can get those dates on your calendar.
I just want to comment on those 2 health centers that are not in the township, but in the surrounding areas. A lot of our residents are able to take advantage of those sites because they're allowing it to be, healthcare to be accessible, and they provide excellent care. And they also are the health centers are very community focused as well. They give a lot back to the community. They're just not sitting there. They also are engaged in a lot of activities that are occurring in our surrounding communities.
All right, very brief personnel update, just 2 defections from our seasonal labor force. I guess they're heading back to college, and that is Josh Harrison. His seasonal term ended on July the 27th, and Dallas Schaefer on the 28th, both of those of July. And then the last FYI I've got, I did receive notice from Duke Energy. I think this seems to be an annual thing as well, but that between the 15th of this month and the 26th, Duke will be performing inspection on their gas metering equipment and piping located inside buildings in our area. They say these inspections are required by the U.S. Department of Transportation and are necessary for natural gas pipeline operations. They don't specify where these are, but that this work will be performed by Southern Cross Inc., who does this on behalf of Duke, and they'll have a uniform and a badge and those types of things. And we will put this on our website. There's a website that they can link to if they have further questions about it. But this is, I know we've received this same notice now for the last 2 or 3 years. So that, other than the activity reports, which I know the board has in their packets, that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hennekamp.
You're welcome.
We do have 9 resolutions this evening. First one, resolution number 70-2017, adopting the estimates and specifications reported by the county engineer for improvement to Wyoming Point Place and Altaview Court, approving and confirming the assessments for such improvement and ordering that the improvement proceed. Do we have a motion?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
So moved.
Which resolution is that?
It doesn't have a
70, it says 70, it's 70-2017.
That's a nuisance one I have. I don't know.
I must have a different
We're going off the,
Yeah, I'm going
agenda.
off this. It's a nuisance resolution, 70 dash.
hold on.
okay, 70-20.
You're right.
I'm going off the book. I'm not going off.
Right, and that's absolutely
You're going
correct.
off
It is
the,
Yeah, but
nuisance.
he announced it as 70-217.
It appears to be an error in the agenda.
There's an error where they're written up, right.
Yes.
just go off the actual resolution.
Okay. I apologize.
That's not your fault. I just,
Resolution number 70-2017 is actually declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
The second one is resolution number 71-2017, establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying same to the Hamilton County Recorder. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
To the Hamilton County Auditor.
Auditor, I'm sorry.
Okay. Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Resolution number 72-2017, declaring motor vehicles located on public or private property in Springfield Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, to be junk motor vehicles pursuant to Revised Code 505.173 and ordering the removal of such vehicles pursuant to Resolution number 80-2012 and Revised Code 505.871. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Resolution number 73-2017, authorizing the private sale of junk motor vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to Revised Code 4513.61 and Revised Code 4513.62, and which are not needed or unfit for use in any township department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Resolution number 74-2017, adopting the estimates and specifications reported by the county engineer for improvement to Wyoming Point Place, approving and confirming the assessments for such improvement, and ordering that the improvement proceed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Resolution number 75-2017, adopting the estimates and specifications reported by the county engineer for improvement to Millbrook Drive, Woodfield Drive, Streambrook Drive, Leebrook Drive, Galecrest Drive, Timber Mill Court, Ashford Court, Viewcrest Court, Allencrest Court, Thomas View Court, and Shady Oak Court, approving and confirming the assessments for such improvement and ordering that the improvement proceed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 76-2017, modifying the schedule listing each street on which parking is prohibited or restricted within Springfield Township as required by Section 302.2 of the Springfield Township Parking Regulations.
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 77-2017, resolution to amend resolution number 57-2017, declaring a dangerous property condition at 9084 Arrowhead Court. Do we have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 78-2017, resolution to amend resolution number 56-2017, declaring a dangerous property condition at 234 Beach Ridge Drive. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Honlaw,
Aye.
Mr. Bernie,
Aye.
resolution carries.
Okay, do we have any old business before the board?
I have none.
I have none.
How about new business? Is there any new business before the board?
I have none.
I have just one thing I'll just kind of want to bring up to correct the record. recently there was an article in the newspaper criticizing Springfield Township for not spending taxpayer dollars on our road repairs. And the information that was put in this article, it's by somebody who's running for township trustee, was totally inaccurate. And I thought it's worth taking a minute just to set the record straight on what the facts are. In Springfield Township, we passed a road, our 1 mil road levy back in 1996, and it brings in $500,000 a year. And I remember when $500,000 a year went pretty far on repairing our roads. I think, Mike, you know now with the cost of road repairs, that doesn't go very far at all. And we're a community where a lot of the streets, the township roads, are the subdivision streets. Winton Road is a county street. You know, a lot of the roads the big roads, the connector roads are county roads, which we're not in charge of. But a lot of Springfield Township got built about the same time. We have a lot of roads that are kind of getting old and coming apart at the same time. And so for the last 20 years, we've been working as hard as we can with the tax dollars we have to repair the roads. And the argument was that the township has been taking our money and doing something else with it and not spending it on the roads. And that's just simply not true. The fact of the matter is that since 2000, the township, by taking money from other funds, we've spent, including grants, $1,574,599 on average on our roads each year, $1.5 million. That was before the JEDS was passed by the voters. After the JEDS is passed, and when we first passed the JEDS, we estimated very conservatively as to what we thought it would bring in. We didn't know. There'd never been one. And as it's turned out, the JEDS has brought in more tax revenue to the township than we anticipated. We've used this additional tax revenue to increase our repairs on the roads. And after the JEDS is passed, on average, including grants, we've spent $2,226,000 a year. So I think it's important that we have the real numbers put out as to what it is. I know we were criticized for not spending our money on things that are statutorily obligated for townships. The only two things that a township has to provide are roads and cemeteries. Police and fire are optional. We don't need to have a police and fire department. But who would want to live in a community that didn't have one? We spend, I think, on average, it's about, what is the percent, Mike, on police and fire?
Those two alone, those
yeah.
two are probably 67% of our budget. When you
Yeah.
throw roads into it, you're probably talking 88% of the budget. The remaining 12% are general government costs that are
Everything
mostly
else.
admin, which is primarily
Supporting these
supporting
guys.
the three things we just mentioned.
So when there's these allegations that we're like blowing the township's money or spending it on things that aren't required or necessary, it's just false. And so I just want to kind of set the record straight on that. You know, being a public figure, you listen to a lot of stuff and you take a lot of stuff, but sometimes when it's just flat wrong, you got to say time out. It is wrong.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Joe, because, you know, with today's times the way it is, there's so much fake news out there, and these are facts, you know, so we have to focus on the facts and be able to look at, from our own perspective, okay, does this make sense or does it not make sense, rather than just taking that information at random. So I'm glad we could clarify that, because it needed to be done.
Thanks, Gwen.
Thank you, Joe.
I have nothing else.
Okay, now it's time for citizen participation. If anybody would like to address the board, if you could come up and make sure you speak into the mic and give us your name and address, we would appreciate it. Is there anybody that would like to address the board tonight?
Let me move this up a little bit. Good evening. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. My name is Steve Stormeyer. For those of you that may not know me, I own and run Restoring Hope Counseling and Coaching, which is located here in the township behind Brentwood Printing. So we provide services to people who live with mental health disorders, anywhere from anxiety, depression, all the way to bipolar disorder and others. We also provide a lot of services to people with addiction issues, and that's the issue we want to address to the board this evening. So as if you pay attention to the news, which I'm sure that you do, you know that the opioid crisis is huge and it's getting worse. And my understanding from law enforcement, Chief Browder, I don't think we've spoken too much about this, but other law enforcement, Tom Sinan, for example, the chief of police in Newtown, told me about a year ago that law enforcement can't arrest our way out of this, is what he said, quote unquote. And so he, at a dinner I had with Tom Sinan and Chief Fertelman up in Green Hills, they both said we need people in the community and we need the municipalities to partner together to address this issue. And so he looked at me, and I don't know if you know Tom Sinan, but he's not one that you want to mess with, I think, a whole lot. So he looked right at me and said, and you need to do something about it. I said, yes, sir, I'll do something about it. So I committed to him that my company and me as a private citizen, you would try to address it. And of course, professionally, this is partly what I do. So we have 5 therapists and 5 coaches, what we call coaches in our company. One of which is right here, Trevor Steinhauser, who's going to come speak in just a minute to you. He is a recovery coach, so while myself and the 4 other therapists that work with me may do the therapy that's involved with addressing issues that are behind the addiction, Trevor's going, and I'll let him talk about what he's going to do for himself, but he's going to provide some more practical services than what I can. We know that the opioid crisis is expanding. Saturday, there were 22 overdoses. That's the largest number of overdoses on one day, I think, in the country, it was reported. And so this is getting worse. It's only going to get worse. And so we are not just coming to tell you about this, because if you read the newspapers, you know that this is happening. But we would like to work in conjunction with the township to provide some education, some preventative services in collaboration with the township to reduce the opioid crisis that is either here, and Chief Browder might be able to address that, if it's here or getting worse. I would assume it's here, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's kind of a broad question, but let me just put it into perspective a little bit. In comparison to other communities, we have very few heroin overdoses. And out of those heroin overdoses, I can tell you only about 5% of them actually live here in the township. Mm-hmm. Most of them travel here from Indiana because their laws are much more strict. But as far as actual residents of the township, we're probably one of the communities with the least amount per capita of people that live here that are overdosing on heroin.
Okay. And so this is probably going to get worse, though, we would have to assume. Not in just the surrounding communities, I would assume in the township. I know Coleraine Township deals with this a lot. Mount Healthy does as well. And so what we want to do is offer our partnership to the township to try to prevent it from happening, or at least get ahead of the game. So I'm going to let Trevor come up and talk a little bit about what he does and a little bit of what we might be offering the township.
Thank you for having us this evening. I'm going to put it down here. But my name is Trevor Steinhauser. I've joined Steve's company, Restoring Hope Counseling and Coaching, just a short while ago, and I will be acting as a recovery coach. Coaching is different than a counselor and a therapist, where I will not be offering clinical advice. I will be offering, helping people with active addiction. I am in recovery myself. Tomorrow will be 22 months for me. So I will be helping people through any stage of addiction, active addiction, people that are going into recovery, coming out of recovery, helping their families. So I was spared incarceration. I was spared death. So I have a duty to help others, and I have also found a passion to help others. I'll be a guide for people that I work with. Again, helping them with the goals that they pick for themselves, helping them get there. So as Steve mentioned, we've got a serious problem, and it's everywhere. It has no socioeconomic barriers. It does not matter. It's not just downtown Cincinnati. It's not in just over the Rhine. It is in every community in the city. And some people say that the overdoses, if they're not fatal, it's not of concern. That is, in my opinion, it doesn't matter whether they're fatal or not. It's still a problem. And Trump spoke today. I wasn't able to see it. I tried to hang around as long as I could by the TV, but anyway, it's all the way at the top. So it is a big problem, and I don't think, fire and police banging your heads against the wall without any additional help from the community is fair. So we have to educate the members of our community, the parents, teachers, and children themselves at an early age prior to them getting to the point where they're pinned against the wall and presented with drugs and alcohol. Sorry, I brought some notes. So arresting our way out of it, but the revolving door, we need to agree, or I think getting these people help, the people that are overdosing, putting them in jail for 72 hours and having them come out and them doing the same amount of heroin they were doing prior to going into jail. That's when a lot of them overdose, because it gets out of your system so quickly, and that's when a lot of them have these overdoses. So getting them into treatment is extremely important, and that's what we have to educate the community. Until we educate them, until we arm these people with the facts about addiction and break through the stigma that it is a disease, and it's not about decisions that you make. It's not about where you're from. It's not about what kind of person you are. Nothing's going to change. So that's why we're here. We're here because we reside in this township, and we want to make a difference. And we would like to propose to the trustees about co-sponsoring, I may not be using the correct language, an event in the community. We're thinking a Sunday afternoon or a weekend afternoon, 2 or 3 hours, where we all come out and we have companies like ours, people in authority, police and fire come out, and other companies, that treatment centers, and invite the community to come out and provide education and awareness, and invite the community to come out and provide all of this information to them, so that we can show that we are aware of the problem, that we want to face the problem. And I truly think it would be a model for the rest of the city, because there's not a lot of people doing anything about it. Because we can talk about it and talk about it, but until we stand up and do something about it, nothing's going to change. Because there's dinner tables every night where parents aren't talking to their kids about it, because the parents are embarrassed and the kids are embarrassed to tell their family, their parents. So that the stigma is huge and it's real, and we got to start doing something about it. So that is what we're proposing to the trustees, and we appreciate your time and would like to know your thoughts and next steps for how we could push this along. And our thoughts would be before the weather gets too cold this fall. So we appreciate your time. And Steve, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to say. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Trevor, I would just like to thank you for stepping forward and sharing some of your story, and letting others know that are watching this program perhaps that there is an opportunity, and there is opportunities for recovery. and also to be a leader and trying to be supportive to the community, to the neighbors, to the churches and everyone. So I just want to commend you for coming forward and sharing that.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Raven Law, and I reside at 12 Stayburn Avenue.
What is it?
12 Stayburn Avenue. We have been dealing with a lot of parking issues since the new bar has opened. There was a bar there before. It was called No Drama. There was no issues at all. Now we have kickbacks. We have tried to come to an agreement with them to where they would park, so far back, because we also have company that need a place to park as well. It hasn't worked. It's a lot of issues. I mean, they're pulling in my grass, and I have a million pictures. I've sent them to Mike as well. So they're pulling in the grass. We go to the bar to speak to the bar about it, and they're too busy. They tell us, do what you have to do, tow them, whatever. There was an incident in June, early June, where we went and spoke with the owner, and we let him know that we were having a get-together, just, being respectful and just letting them know that we will have cars parked over there as well. He pretty much told us he didn't really care what was going on. He went to the bar himself, personally got cars, and brought them over himself and parked them there. So it's been really hard. I'm constantly calling Springfield Township, so it's kind of like I've become friends with the officers on third shift. But I spoke with Mike, and I guess we're going to pretty much block one side of the street and then use the other side. But now I guess my biggest concern is how we're going to make that happen with using one side of the road. There's also a house there that no one lives in. That door has been shattered since they've opened, which I've taken pictures of that as well. Every morning, I see Mr. Dan here picking up trash because they don't do that. I don't know if you guys really want me to go into as many details, but we're constantly approaching people, letting them know, like, hey, you can't park in my grass, and they just become like they want to fight you. And I'm so over it. I have 2 kids, and their windows right there, so, like, God forbid if something happens, they're going to be the first ones to, be injured. So I just wanted to stress to you guys how important it is to us to get it taken care of, because it's been a headache, big headache. So,
What was your first name?
Raven?
LEW,
Yeah.
Raven.
Yes, Raven, we did pass a resolution tonight banning the parking.
Okay.
And I know, Chief, we're going to be down there to enforce that.
Right, and just so
First,
you
we
know,
got to post it.
right, we said this, I think, before you came in, is that we actually met with the owner, Mr. Gould and I, last week, and we're aware of the parking problems, and we let him know, one way to alleviate this is making this, the fire lane on the one side, and that, I let him know that we're going to, whatever cars are parked there, and we had some discussions and figured out partly what the problem is there, and that's the fact that all the employees are parking in the parking lot of his business. That's why none of the patrons can park in the business. So, we're well aware of it, and I promise you that, if there's any issues at all, call us. Don't deal with the people that are coming or parking in the yard, and we'll take care of it for you.
So my other question is that so when that's being done, how is it going to work? Is it just like where the fire hydrant, like that whole side, or is it also like around the curb, like past the stop sign, like that little, I don't know if you can tell from the picture, but like the little round area, like right as you're driving, so that was fine. That's going to be fine. Okay, so they have their employees park in the back of the bar, so they have that blocked off, but they also have Albert Motors. They park in his space as well, and then they have all of the side streets. So I don't know.
I tell you what, meet with me when we're finished here, which will just be a few minutes, and I'll show all this to you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? If there's no further business before the board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.